Hello everyone, and my name is Uğur, and today I am going to talk about this paper titled as Tracking Emerged by Colorizing Videos. And they are trying to colorize the grayscale videos by copying the color values from a reference image. Like we give a grayscale video to their model and the reference frame, and the model only knows this color of the reference frame. And their model learns the copy colors from this reference to the grayscale video to predict this colorized version of this grayscale video. This is the overall problem. And they solve this problem by learning such a latent space which make it easier to find corresponding points or matching points. This is the grayscale reference frame. We know its color. And this is our input frame. It's also grayscale. Their model learns such a representable latent space, so we can find the matching points. And after we found that, we can easily copy the color value to the input frame to predict the color values for all pixels. So this is the overall architecture. First, they convert their inputs to the grayscale level for reference and target frame. And this is the embeddings which the network learns. Each pixel in these embeddings represented by a vector. This Fi represents this reference frame features. This Fj represents the target frame embeddings. So for each pixel, for a pixel in a target frame, we compare this vector with all of the reference frame pixels in order to find similarity. And we found this similarity, we calculate this similarity by dot product. So if we repeat this process for all pixels in the target frame, we have this A similarity matrix which gives us the correspondence map. So after calculating this A, we can easily find the similar points in the embeddings to copy this color information. The one way of doing this is copy only the corresponding one pixel at a time. But in order to do that, they proposed a different way to do that. They used all reference pixel values to predict one pixel value in the target image. So they use this A similarity matrix as a weight matrix and calculate the linear mixture of reference pixel values. This is the prediction. This is the architectural detail. And they take three reference image at the training and testing time. This is the reference image. They only take one reference image at a time. Target image, sorry. This is the target image. They only take one target image at a time. These has size 256 by 256. They extract features by using the ResNet 18 architecture. Before going into deeper, they concatenate this spatial location embeddings into the concatenate them into these extracted features. And they use 3D convolutions in order to extract the temporal information, because this is a video tracking paper, and their final aim is to track the colors or to learn the tracking. In order to do that, they use 3D convolutional networks, and at the end, they produce these embeddings with that size. And in order to use, instead of using the RGB space, they use the lab color space because they said that it's more closer to the human vision. Also, distance in the lab space is more like a perceptual distance. This is an example of lab color space. This is lightness channel. It's like a grayscale image. And this is the A channel. It represents the green and red colors. And this is the B channel. It only contains the blue and yellow channels. And this L channel is given to the network as an input the network try to predict these A and B. This is how they do their color prediction. First they take this RGB image and convert into the LAB space, and they quantize these AB colors into 16 different classes by using k-mean clusters, because they are trying to decrease the need of computational power. We know this asimilarity matrix and these quantized color values. So by using this similarity matrix, we can easily copy the values to the target image, and using this model, they produce their prediction. This visualization of these quantized colors are perturbated because for the visualization reason. So each class of this quantized AB color is represented by a really sharp colors, with a sharp colors. So since this is a classification problem, because they are trying to classify these distinct color classes, they use cross entropy loss, and this is their prediction from this model, and JJ is the ground truth value. And during the training, they use the 6 frame per second videos only. Also, they use a kinetics dataset, and they don't use labels because this is a self-supervised method. And also, they take these videos from kinetics and convert them into grayscale version. And one of the assumptions they made in the paper is they assume that most of the videos from the public web have stable colors and can be represented by 16 colors. Like, these are the reference and target frames, these are the original AB channels, and this is the quantized version. As you can see, objects can be represented by these 16 distinct colors. This is another example. But there are some exceptions, like if the light conditions are too extreme, the output of this quantization can be really complex to extract some features. At the inference level, they calculate this similarity matrix and use the softmax temperature in order to prevent these blurry outputs, because sometimes A matrix has some unconfident values which causes the blurry outputs. They use softmax temperature as 0.5. At inference, this is the most important property of their method. Their prediction model does not depend on the CI. So during the inference time, they can change the CI and apply their model on a different problem, because the network is only responsible for the predicting the similarities. Like in a segmentation, they reinterpret the CI as a number of category and give a different color to each segmentation category and apply their method to track these segmentation maps. Like in that, as you can see in this image, this video clip, this initial segmentation is given by some supervisor, and this segmentation is colored with green, and their method can easily and successfully track the car. Also, they can apply their method to multi-object tracking. Each object, if you give a different class for each object, like in this image, for the person 1, it's colored with red. For the person 2, they give a color yellow, and the third one is colored with orange. And each of them can be easily tracked by their method.
So this one, they are just doing colorization, but the result is like tracking.
Yes. They also applied their method on keypoint trackings. But in this case, key points are represented sparsely. First, they convert them into the dense representation. Each key point represented by a different color. So this is an example. The joint of the human body represent the key points. These red lines only drawn by to show the human skeleton, but actually the key points have different color values or different classes. So this is the result of their tracking. Also, this is another example. So during the experiments, they use different methods to compare their results. First, they use this identity approach. It simply assumes that this method assumes that the colors are not changing during the videos and repeats the initial given these colors during the other frames. Only this is a dummy task. They also compare their method with optical flow, and they calculate an optical flow values between two frames, and depending on the intensity values of optical flow, they move these color values in order to apply tracking. They also use single image colorization. This method is from Berkeley. Their method only simply takes one frame at a time and try to colorize a grayscale input image. And what they do is, in this paper, they take features from this network and use them as embeddings. This is also another approach, these supervised models. They use supervised models to track and compare their results. This is the video segmentation results. The proposed method outperformed this optical flow approach. This optical flow approach does not use the convolutional neural networks. This optical flow method uses FlowNet. It's trained on a synthetic data, and like you see, the proposed method is has the best performance among two unsupervised methods. But there is a huge gap between supervised and unsupervised methods. This is a performance versus time plot. Their proposed method can easily keep tracking for the long videos, and it has better performance than optical flow and identity mapping. After a certain point, the optical flow performance drops to the baseline. It has the same performance with the dummy task, but their method keeps tracking well. This is the performance by attributes plot. Their method really beats the optical flow in dynamic background, fast motion, shape complexity, and occlusion. There's a huge gap between the optical flow and the proposed method. But they both of the optical flow and the proposed method have suffer from these scale variations. This is one of the problems they need to solve. This is an example of video segmentation. Their method can easily track even in the occlusion. This ball is colored with purple. Even if it's behind the tree, it can be easily tracked. Those are the multi-object tracking examples. Their methods perform well, even if the large deformations exist in the videos, like that.
So in this, one person is being put in like this, wrestling?
I think they are doing some karate or. And this is one of the fail cases because their method can't successfully track the small objects with a fast motion. because they are using really small, spatially small embeddings, so they can't easily represent the small objects in the videos. This is the performance of pose tracking. They use probability of correct key point metrics to compare that. It's a percentage of correctly localized key points below a certain threshold. Those are the threshold points. With the strict threshold values, both this optical flow and the proposed method have same performance. But if they increase the threshold value, they are able to outperform the optical flow method. This example from video colorization. This is the input video. It's in grayscale. This is the reference frame, and their method learns to copy from reference to target. And this is the predicted output. And at the end, they visualize their embeddings in order to see what they learn during the training. They used PCA to project their embeddings into 2D space for visualization. Like you see in this visualization, embeddings tends to correspond instances like dogs is colored with green. And their embeddings successfully represent the dog. They also state that if colorization is failed, tracking tends to fail. In this case, they give this reference frame and this initial segmentation. The only car is segmented in this initial mask. This is the predicted segmentation output. It cannot segment correctly. This is the colorization results, and this is the ground truth colorization. Like you see in these images, if the colorization task is failed, the segmentation is also tends to fail. And at the end, they propose the self-supervised tracking method. This is important because finding labeled data is really hard. Also, annotating data sets is really expensive. So it can be useful for our deep networks. Also, it can be applied to different tasks at the inference time. This is also an interesting property because you train your network one time and you can use for different tasks at inference time. Also, they state that if they improve the colorization performance, it can boost the performance of their tracking methods. And that's all.
Okay.